Hi guys, so on Wednesday the High Court delivered a ruling that Boris Johnson's government had acted unlawfully when it transferred patients from hospitals to care homes during the early period of the pandemic. Now at the time, both Boris Johnson and the Health Secretary Matt Hancock had promised that a ring of protection had been thrown around care homes. The news of the court's judgment was read out to the Prime Minister during PMQs, and well, in typical Boris Johnson style, he responded with lies. Have a listen.
Today, a court has found that the government acted unlawfully when its policies led to the discharge of untested patients from hospitals to care homes at the start of the pandemic. The court also found no evidence that the former Health Secretary addressed the issue of the risk to care home residents of such transmission, despite the government insisting at the time that a protective ring had been thrown around care homes. The government has once again been found to have broken the law. Will the Prime Minister apologise to the families of the thousands and thousands of people who died in care homes in the first half of 2020? And will he also apologise to care workers for the shameful comment that he made in July 2020 when he said that too many care homes didn't follow procedures in the way that they could have?
Mr. Speaker, of course I want to renew my apologies and sympathies for all those who lost loved ones during the pandemic, people who lost loved ones in care homes, and I want to remind the...
Notice he did not say people who had been transferred from hospital into care homes. This is the point that she's making here. Many people, of course, many people died during the pandemic, but these were deaths that could have been avoided. The government took a decision to transfer people from hospitals into care homes. Boris Johnson has not apologised for that. He hasn't apologised for the workers in those care homes who were struggling at the beginning of the pandemic, and when Boris Johnson himself said they could have done better, they could have done more. Pathetic.
House of what an incredibly difficult time that was and how difficult that decision was. And we didn't know very much about the disease, and the point I was trying to make, to which she refers, is the thing that we didn't know in particular, Mr. Speaker, was that COVID could be transmitted asymptomatically in the way that it was, and that was something that I wish we had known more about at the time. As for the ruling that she mentions, we will study it, and we will of course respond further in due course.
Does this man have no shame? No, that's a stupid question. Of course he has no shame. Standing there and lying about the fact that it was transmissible. It says here, this was uploaded by Gemma Abbot from the Good Law Project. It says here, this is according to the ruling from the High Court. It is apparent that the changing evidential picture was recognised within government. The government knew about this. Lord Bethel's remarks in the House of Commons on the 9th of March that asymptomatic and untested people could be infectious was an early sign of that recognition. Sir Patrick Vallance's remarks on the Today programme on the 13th of March, it looks quite likely that there is some degree of asymptomatic transmission, confirmed that position. Professor Doyle's evidence to the Health and Social Care Select Committee on the 26th of March underlined its significance. So you have Boris Johnson here lying to Parliament. He knew that there was asymptomatic transmission, and he stood up in Parliament and pretended that he didn't know this. He's, once again, and I've said this during the pandemic, I said Boris Johnson, I believed, would go through some sort of road to Damascus conversion. He went into hospital, he would come out perhaps a new man, but he went in and came out exactly the same charlatan and liar and cheat that he has always been. Nothing has changed here. He's not going to apologise for the people who he belittled and working their arses off during the pandemic in these care homes. He's not going to apologise to the people who died because he transferred them from hospital into these care homes. He hasn't done it before, and now he's lying about it in Parliament, covering his own arse. That's the only person Boris Johnson cares about. He doesn't care about anyone else. No one else but Boris frigging Johnson. I'm sorry I'm getting animated about this, but this really pisses me off because people lost their lives during this pandemic. Families have gone through hell because of this. And Boris Johnson, if mistakes were made, you stand up and you apologise for it. You take responsibility for it. But here he is, lying once again. It's disgraceful. And I don't know if you saw in the clip, Dominic Raab beside him nodding in agreement. Yeah. But what more can you expect from that idiot? Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.